Hello aspirants, welcome to IAS Icons by Unacademy. This is Shubham Sardhalia. As you can see from the thumbnail, this lecture is gonna be about NCERTs. We have been discussing NCERTs in our regular classes, but many students have this doubt, sir, how to read NCERT. So this is going to be a very special session, very informative session for all those who wish to understand the process of reading NCERTs. Do we need to remember it? Do we need to memorize it? So I'll be covering certain things which are important when it comes to reading NCERTs, and you can ask me your doubts. I'll try to answer all your queries, all your doubts. I request all of you to join the class at the earliest so that we can start with our today's discussion. Hello, Abhinesh Srivastav. I'm good. How are you? So, India's largest learning platform, that is Unacademy. We at Unacademy are helping you crack this examination, which is known as UPSC Civil Service Examination. We at Unacademy offer you widest choice of educators. You get unlimited times. You can view the lectures. You get live mentorship, daily answer writing practice. We provide you end-to-end preparation. We are giving you. You get comprehensive notes, dedicated doubt solving sessions. So all these things together amount to your selection in final examination. My name is Shubham Sardhalia. I'm your educator and mentor. You can opt for our subscriptions for Plus and Iconic with massive discounts using this code IAS Icons. So remember to use this code IAS Icons. This will help you a lot. You can opt for our optional subscriptions. And sir, 15th and 16th October, these 2 days are being celebrated as UPSC Mahotsav. So you can participate in our various events and win up to 50,000 rupees Amazon vouchers. Special CSE subscription for 2023 aspirants, a 9-month plus GS subscription. So for all those who are aiming to qualify this or you are aiming to appear in 2013 examination, we are giving you a 9-month subscription which you can purchase till 24th of October using this code IAS Icons, only at rupees 45,000. So you can opt for this subscription at 45,000. For next 9 months, we will be ensuring that you qualify this, you prepare for this examination with the best way possible. Somebody was asking me in yesterday's class about CSAT. So we brought for you special CSAT series with top educators only at rupees 8,999. Again, to enroll in it, you have to use this code IAS Icons. Any course you opt for, you need to use the code IAS Icons. Our fresh batches are starting from 20th of October. And we are discussing about how to read NCERTs. All those who have joined me, can I have a thumbs up from you? Those who can hear me, those who are watching this, I can see Sheikh Mohammed Qasim, Arun Gaur, Abhinesh Srivastav, who all are there. Can you please give me a thumbs up? So we are discussing how to read NCERTs. Many a times I have been telling you that NCERTs are important, and leave aside that you must have gone through toppers interviews, because that's the thing we always do, that whenever we are preparing for this UPSC examination, we think that yeah, all those who have qualified this examination, who have scored a good rank in this examination, we must learn certain things from them. So the first thing that they tell you is NCERT. I have been telling the same thing many a times. What is the reason why we are asked to read NCERT is the first thing. Answer me the question why we are asked to read NCERTs. Why, according to you, NCERTs are important here? There must be some reason. There has to be some reason for NCERTs to be read. So, what, according to you, is that reason why we are asked to read NCERTs? If you are following my classes on regular basis, you must be aware of the reason. I already told the reason to you many a times. Sir, what is happening is, when it comes to UPSC civil service examination, people from all backgrounds, somebody from humanities, somebody from commerce, somebody from sciences, somebody from medical background, maybe a doctor, MBBS doctor, along with him a lawyer, an engineer, all of them are appearing in this examination, and people from wide variety of backgrounds qualify this examination. You see lawyers qualifying this examination. You may find, you definitely will find engineers qualifying this examination. There are doctors coming up. There are other professionals who come and prepare for this examination, qualify this examination. So there are certain things, a level playing field or a basic stage is to be set. So how to make that or how to set that basic stage, it required certain things. So what actually was happening here was, we wanted that everybody who jumps into this preparation should have basic knowledge of certain things. We'll be reading history, we'll be reading polity, we will be reading economy and whatnot. So somebody who studied economics last time when he was in his 10th class, can we expect him to read or to understand entire thing while all these years from 10th onwards he has been reading subject related to commerce? No, that was not possible. So for everybody to have the fair idea about the subjects, we were told that there is one set of book that is known as NCERT. You go through them, you read these NCERTs, and these NCERTs will help you a long way in understanding the things, in memorizing the things, and ultimately you can compete with people of all walks of life. Are we following it? So the basic introduction that why we need to read NCERTs, that I was discussing with you. Now the question that comes up is, what NCERTs we have to read? See, somebody may tell you go and read only 11th 12th, somebody may tell you start reading from 10th class. I personally suggest that if we are doing it now, let's do it with the full heart, putting in all our effort, what we call it as leaving no stone unturned. So I personally recommend that if we are reading NCERT, we should start from class 6th and go up till class 12th. There are certain subjects, for example in economics, our NCERTs start from class 9th, because the first time we were introduced to economy as a subject was in class 9th. So I request you to start from class 6th onwards. Are we following it? Are we following it? Abhinay Srivastav, Arun Gaur, Sheikh Mohammed Qasim. Now the question that comes up in mind is, sir, NCERTs are a long set of books on an average. For example, if we go, this is the 6th class NCERT for history. The book's name is Our Past. 6th class NCERT. This has to be a basic, most basic book, because it's meant, remember, NCERTs were never designed in a way that we as a UPSC aspirant will read the NCERTs and will qualify the examination. See, we were told to read because we need to clear our basics, but this book was meant for a 6th class student. At what age we are in 6th class? Can you please tell me? Somewhere at the age of 11 or 12 years, a student enters into class 6th. So for a 11 to 12-year-old child, things have to be very basic. But sir, can you see the number of pages here? Even for the basic, most basic thing for a 10 to 11-year child, we have to read at least 114 pages for just one subject, that is history. Similarly, we'll have NCERT for geography also, we'll have NCERT for other subjects also. So cumulatively, I am telling you that for every class and for every subject, you will somewhere around have to read 1000 pages. For 6th class NCERT only, we will have NCERT for different subjects and we will have to read them. So approximately 1000 pages I am asking you to read. Now the question is, do we actually need to read 1000 pages? We need to understand, or we need to memorize it? See, there are basic things. One is called reading, other is called understanding, then there is something known as memorizing. What according to you we need to do here? Do we need to just read the NCERT? Do we need to understand the NCERT, or do we need to memorize the NCERT? What are the things that are to be done? So what, can you please tell me, Abhinay, Sheikh Mohammed Qasim, Arun Gaur, what were the things we were required to do? We need to read, understand, or memorize? See, the thing is, we have to read, understand, and memorize. We have to do all three things. Arun Gaur is saying we need to understand. But if we need to understand only, Then tomorrow when something is asked in the examination, if we are not able to recall that thing in examination, there is no point of reading NCERT. See, NCERT as a subject or NCERT as the component of UPSC syllabus would require a lot of effort. It's not that you can read NCERT in a week or so. If you actually want to read it thoroughly so that tomorrow when you appear in the examination, you are able to recall the facts and figures that you were studying in NCERT, you need to actually memorize it, and it will require certain effort. You will have to put in effort here. Are we following it? So we need to read it, then we have to understand it, and we have to memorize it. Again, the same question comes. Do you think for every class we are able to memorize 1000 pages? For 6th class we need to memorize 1000 pages. In that case, as we go in the higher classes, the content will also increase. So maybe when you go for 7th class NCERTs, this is approximately 1200 pages. For by the time you reach your 12th class, the number of pages would increase up to 2000. So is it that I'm telling you to memorize at least 20,000 pages? That's practically impossible. See, we cannot memorize 20,000 pages because that's not the only thing. It's not that I'm telling you simply go and read the NCERT, you will be done through with the examination. No sir, there are n number of other things that are lying behind. So what we need to do is more important, and that's the reason that the aspirant gets confused here. You will come across people who will start UPSC preparation even after 1 year, 2 years down the line. You will find them asking the very similar question: how to read NCERTs? NCERT kaise padhni hai? Do we need to read, understand, or memorize? So ending all your queries here, I would tell you the way to read, understand, and memorize. Any doubt up till here, please you can ask me. Any doubt you are having up till here, you please are free to ask me. Then we'll proceed further. Any doubt up till here? So what happens is, for every thing, for every chapter that we read in NCERTs, there are certain important things from exams perspective, important facts that are important with respect to examination. You may find a very direct question. Mohammad Qasim has asked me a very interesting question. Sir, in how many days can we complete whole NCERTs for UPSC? Qasim, see, answer to this is very subjective. For example, you are able to do this read, understand, and memorize RAM. So don't misunderstand it with some other RAM. So it is read, understand, and memorize. For example, if somebody is able to do this RUM for entire NCERTs in 15 days, but there would be somebody who may be able to do it in 3 months. So it is very subjective. It will differ from person to person. It depends entirely on your grasping power, that how easily, how quick you can understand and memorize the thing. See, everything, every chapter of NCERT has certain things which are to be remembered for the examination, and there are n number of things which are to be thoroughly skipped. Now what I'll do here is I'll take example of this first chapter of 6th class NCERT for history. What, where, how, and when. There are certain things which are to be remembered. There are certain things which are to be skipped entirely. This class is specially about what are the things to be read, what are the things to be left. Mohammad Qasim, now you are see, we have another interesting question from Mohammad Qasim. Do we have to read whole NCERTs of all subjects at once? See, again, that's your call. For example, if you want that I will be completing with my history, so you start with NCERTs for history, read them, then you go for another important books for NCERT, you cover them. Once you are done with history, you can go for geography, or you can do it book wise, that I tell you there are NCERTs, then there are reference books, then you have to attempt P-wise Qs. So I tell you that these are 3 steps for UPSC preparation. First you read NCERTs, then you go for the reference books for respective subjects, and then you attempt previous year questions. So if you go by this stream, or if you go by this method, so you can read all the NCERTs at once. You will be having that feeling that I have completed the NCERTs. Then you can opt for reference book subject wise. Then you appear for previous year question. Or then there is another strategy that I decide I'll start with history as a subject, complete the entire history thoroughly. I'll complete the NCERTs. I'll complete the reference books. I'll complete the previous year questions. So here, what you will have that feeling that I'm done with one subject, that is history. So again, that is your call. Following it. See, there is nothing which is which can be told to you when it comes to strategy. How time we do NCERT 1 or more? Sure, I'll try to share the not only try, I'll share the NCERT notes with all of you in our Telegram channel. So from tomorrow onwards, you will be having regular class. I'll just tell you my schedule. On this very channel only at 1 p.m. we will have Geography NCERT class, and at 3 p.m. we will have History NCERT class. Okay. So Geography and History NCERT class we will be having at 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. These will be premier classes. Arun Gora, I'm not able to understand your question. Can you please come again? I'm not able to understand what you are trying to ask. So what we'll do is I'll start with this first chapter, the chapter number 1 on NCERT. So we will be understanding it from two perspectives. First perspective is reading it word to word from NCERT book, and then what we need to read from it from exams perspective. Starting from this, Mohammad Qasim Bache, I cannot give you exact timeline because there are certain reasons. At times we have classes for the classes scheduled for the paid courses. We are doing certain special classes on the app. There are some other reasons also for due to which there can be some break in the NCERT classes. So that's why I cannot assure you the complete timeline that we'll be completing NCERTs by this time. But yeah, I assure you that every day one chapter for two subjects each. So every day we'll be covering two chapters from two subjects, like we are doing it with history and geography. Once history and geography are over for class 6 to 12, then we'll be moving with polity, then we'll be moving with economy. In that way we'll be covering NCERTs. So every day you will be getting two classes from NCERTs. Are we clear? So what happened, there was the moment, for example, you as a serious UPSC aspirant have decided that I will be studying with full head and heart. I'll be studying with my consistency. I'll be studying with my dedication. So you got all the NCERT books ready. You opened the NCERT. Now, time and again tell you that we need to make notes. Only then we will be able to remember, because we write down certain things and we revise those notes on regular basis, and ultimately we will be remembering, we'll be memorizing them, so that tomorrow when asked in the examination after 10 months, 12 months, when you appear in this examination, you are able to answer it. So the moment you opened NCERT, the first paragraph you see here, Rashida's question. Rashida sat reading the newspaper. Suddenly her eyes fell on a small headline, 100 years ago. She wondered, could anyone know what happened so many years ago? See, this is something, I guess you are clearly able to understand that you will never be asked such question. You will never be asked, who is Rashida? What was she doing? She was reading a newspaper or she was reading a book? So these are the things that we need to clearly ignore first of all. I have seen people that if we do complete 3-time reading of NCERT is sufficient to go with another reference. Arun, I'll tell you one thing. See, it's not about reading it 3 times or 5 times. It's just that the smaller details, the factual information that we find in NCERTs. For example, I'll give you this example. I wanted to put it in the later end, but since you are asking it, I'll do it. The first chapter of class 6 NCERT tells us some of the areas where men and women first grew crops such as wheat and barley was about 8,000 years ago. And where this happened, it happened in Suleiman and Kirthal hills of northwest, the present day Pakistan. These are the areas of Suleiman and Kirthal hills. So what happened here is 6th class NCERT first chapter tells us that around 8,000 years ago, for the first time, people went to practice agriculture, where they started growing crops such as wheat and barley, and it happened somewhere in Suleiman and Kirthar hills of northwestern region. See, If you are reading it for the first time and you remember it once and for all for coming next 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whenever you plan to give the examination, if by a single reading you are able to remember that, yeah, northwestern region, the Suleiman and Kirthar hills, the first time crops were grown by people, the crops were wheat and barley. So for in that case, only a single reading is sufficient. But for somebody who's not able to remember it, by one reading, two reading, can go up to 3 or 4 readings also. But we have to manage the things. It's not that you keep on reading it for 10 times and then you say, sir, my other things were left behind. You have to maintain a balance, but we need to ensure that whatsoever we are reading, we are noting it down, following it. So then we come to another para. Yesterday you could listen to radio. Last year somebody who remembers it. But what is to be done for long years ago? You will never be asked such question. Don't expect a question like this in UPSC examination, that how will you remember something that happened yesterday? Just because it is written in NCERT, that doesn't mean that you simply go and note it down in your piece of paper in the notebook where you are making NCERT notes. So tomorrow when you go and revise NCERT from your notes would look something like this. There was a girl, Rashida. She was reading a newspaper. She saw in the newspaper 100 years ago. She was confused that who knows what happened 100 years ago. Because when it comes to understanding past, for yesterday we can listen to radio, we can watch television, we can read newspaper. For last year we can ask somebody who remembers it. So if you start doing it this way, sir, you are actually writing another NCERT. There is no difference. So we need to understand that there are certain things only which are important. For example, in this entire single page, the important things are people lived along the banks of rivers. One single line was important. People lived around banks of rivers, and we need to understand why they lived around banks of rivers, because they required water. There was nothing known as the water ministry who was providing water at your doorstep. There was nothing known as Bisleri. There was nothing known as any other mobile application that could deliver water to your doorstep. So it was you only who had to manage certain things. So people used to reside along the rivers. Then they were they were hunters and gatherers. So we need to remember this, that they were hunting animals or gathering fruits. For the first time, people practiced agriculture was 8,000 years ago in the regions of Suleiman and Kirthar hills. And in same regions only, people started rearing animals like sheep, goat and cattle. So in this entire 2 pages of NCERT, there were only 4 points. What were those 4 points? People lived on banks of river. They were hunters and gatherers. They grew crops some 8,000 years ago in Suleiman and Kirthar range. And the last one, they were rearing cattle such as goat and sheep. So the 2 pages NCERT was summarized in just 4 lines. This has to be your notes. Every time when you come back to read NCERT notes, your notes have to be such precise and such crisp. Are we following it? Are we following it or not? Any doubt up till here? And apart from that, these maps we need to remember. The important things: where are Garo Hills? Where are Kirthar and Suleiman ranges? Where is this Deccan Plateau? Where is Thar Desert? Where is Himalayan ranges? All these things we need to remember. The maps at times become important. So, are we comfortable in summarizing 2 pages of NCERT into 4 lines? Then if we move on to next page, the important thing here is around 4,700 years ago, earliest cities flourished. So people started growing crops some 8,000 years ago, and the earliest civilization grew somewhere around 4,500 years ago. And what were those civilizations? We all know Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley civilization, the civilization that flourished around the Indus River, and the very first thing that we wrote down in our note making was cities started flourishing around the banks of rivers. People started living on the banks of rivers. Why? Because they required water. So this way, entire paragraph is summarized. Are we following it or not? So we had civilizations like Indus Valley civilization, we will get to know about the empires like Magda. People were living around the banks of Ganga. People were living around along the banks of other rivers. Once people started settling, they formed areas, they formed cities. Those areas were headed by one person who came to be their leader or who came to be known as a king. Then we have this term called India and Bharat, which is the name used for our country. So it comes from Indus, that is Sindhu in Sanskrit. So India comes from Sindhu, we need to remember it. The Iranians and the Greeks who came to India were familiar with the Indus and called it as Hindus or Indus. The earliest civilization that flourished was on the banks of Indus River. So the people came from far off places. The Greeks and Iranians came to this region. They knew about Indus, so they named this region as Indus and eventually named to be called as India. The earliest written text or the earliest book or text that was written was Rig Veda, was somewhere around 3500 years ago. So from this entire page, the first thing that we got to know was 4700 years ago this civilization like Indus Valley flourished. People were traveling from one place to another. Iranians and Greeks, they came to this region. They found people living around the banks of river Indus. They named it as Indus, which ultimately became India. Then somewhere around 3500 years ago, a written text known as Rig Veda was found. This Rig Veda or the texts on Rig Veda were written on things which were known as manuscripts, or we call them as Manusmriti. So there were certain things written that could be written on the bark of a tree, that was written on a piece of a stone, that was written on a piece of metal. They came to be known as manuscripts. Again, the next two pages were summarized into 4 points. So by now we have 8 points. Similarly, moving further, we will come across certain more things. Here we see this image. So people were writing on the bark of a tree, but that was not long lived. Eventually the bark would dry up, the bark would die. So the things written on it would ultimately get destroyed. So people started writing on a surface that was much more durable. For example, they started writing on a stone, or they started writing on a piece of paper. So when things started were being written on piece of a metal or piece of stone, it came to be known as inscriptions. So manuscripts were texts written on what? Manuscripts were texts written on the bark of a tree. But eventually people started writing on stones. It was known as inscriptions. Archaeologists, who are these people? Archaeologists, these are the people who studied about the past with the help of things they found. So they started studying the past with the help of things like this pot, with the help of things like these stones. So these became the source of information. Again, from these two pages, 3 to 4 points were written. People were practicing hunting and gathering. People were killing animals. Then the last stretch of this NCERT talks about dates. So you must have heard about BC and AD. So for anything to be remembered, there had to be certain dates, but how to realize those dates? Today, we are living in the year 2022. What is this 2022? There had to be some reference point. So that reference point came to be known as birth of Jesus Christ. It is believed that Jesus Christ was born 2022 years ago. So birth of Jesus Christ was known as 0 year. 1 or 1 AD was 1 year after the birth of Jesus Christ. 2000 or 2000 AD that we saw 22 years ago, that was 2000 years ahead of Jesus birth. Today is 2022, so it is 2022 AD, that is 2022 years after the birth of Lord Jesus we are living today. So that 0 point was the birth of Jesus, and things happening before that were named as BC. So 1 BC was 1 year before the birth of Christ. 200 BC was 200 years before the birth of Christ. 1000 BC was 1000 years before the birth of Christ. So the last stretch of this first chapter of NCERT tells us about the dates. So if you are able to understand these important things and make the notes out of it, I assure you that your notes would not be longer than a single sheet of paper. So entire first chapter, which was somewhere around 10 pages, could be summarized in a single piece of paper which you can revise over the period of time. Are we following it? Are we following it or not? So these were the things that I told you. People lived along the banks of rivers. They were hunters and gatherers. Suleiman and Kirthar hills were the areas where people grew crops for the first time. Where are the Suleiman and Kirthar hills? They are found somewhere here. People were rearing animals like cattle. They started growing rice in North Vindhyas. Men and people, they were moving from one place to another. People started cooking. There were something known as manuscripts. There were something known as inscriptions which were written on stones. Archaeologists were studying the things and they could find the things with the help of, they could understand the things with the help of objects that were found. Then we talked about dates, and sir, the first chapter of NCERT is over. Now you tell me, how much time will it take for you to revise this first chapter? Can you please tell me? Overall, we didn't have more than 15 to 20 points. 15 to 20 lines we need to note down in our NCERT notes, and we need to remember it. We need to revise it every now and then whenever you get time. Trust me, you revise it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. You revise it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, at max 5 times. You will remember it like anything till the end of your life. You can forget each and everything, but you will not forget that for the first time people grew crop like wheat and barley in Suleiman and Kirthar ranges of northwest, which is in present day Pakistan. Some 4500 years ago, Indus Valley civilization or cities like them flourished. Are we following it or not? Some 3500 years ago, there was a text written which is known as Rig Veda. Muhammad Qasim, but we will get that understanding over the period. See, now that's important. Now, Muhammad Qasim has asked another important question. That, sir, how we get to know? You are an educator. You are telling us. You are telling us that this is important, this is not. But say for that purpose only, we are conducting these classes. NCERTs. If you were present in yesterday's class, I told you that there are certain questions. Many people ask this question that, sir, can we prepare for UPSC entirely on our own? So when you are preparing it entirely on your own, what happens is, you being the beginner, you find each and everything important. So you will underline, you will start noting down each and every point, but only when you appear in the examination and you will see the paper in front of you, you will realize that, oh, there were n number of things that I burdened my mind to understand, to memorize, but only 10% of it was required for the examination. So either you do it after spending 1 or 2 years yourself, or either you do it in the direct guidance, and we are here to provide you that guidance. We are there. For this purpose only I am conducting NCERT classes here, so that you simply join me for 30-40 minutes. I give you the notes, you take back those notes. See, I am trying to ease out your burden to the further extent. I am not even asking you to note down the things on your own. I'll be telling you I'll be bringing up the entire story in notes format. I'll be providing you the PDF. You simply have to go through it whenever you get time. So isn't it easier? Isn't the things made easier? And that's the role we have to play with you. When it comes to guidance, when it comes to guiding you through this preparation, that is what we do. Are we following it? Are we following it or not? So now, do we have the idea? It's not only with history, or it's not only with class 6, or it's not only with for the first chapter. This has to be same for each class, each subject, each chapter, each one. Arun Gaur, Abhinay Srivastav, Sheikh Mohammad Qasim, are we following things? Are the things getting clear to us or not? Are we finding it helpful, my dear friends? Any other doubt you have, you can please ask me. So For last 2 days you must have seen that we were discussing certain things which were out of the box. Normally we discuss NCERTs, we may discuss current affairs, but from last 2 days we were discussing certain things which were out of the box because we are celebrating UPSC Mahotsav. So the beauty of this UPSC Mahotsav was, yes, Sheikh Mohammed Qasim, definitely we have 9 months approximately. Yeah, we have 9 months. But see, I'll tell you, Sheikh Mohammed Qasim, if I am doing it two chapters a day, I'll be keeping in mind that there are students. See, 2 chapters a day is for me. But if you plan to clear the examination in 9 months, you have to put in extra effort, no? See, if you want to clear the exam in 9 months, there may be somebody who want to clear the examination in next 2 or 3 years. So I am giving you an overview that yeah, we will be doing it at this pace. But when it comes to individual approach that I want to clear it in 9 months only, you will have to put in more efforts. I'm telling somebody to study 2 to 5 hours a day, but if somebody has to clear it at the earliest, he may have to study till 12 hours a day. So when you are studying for 12 hours a day, you can devote more time. So instead of 2 chapters a day, you can cover even 10 chapters a day. Following it or not? Yes, Sheikh Mohammed Qasim, I remember you pinged me yesterday also. I'll get in touch with you. I'll definitely assist you in every possible way to qualify this examination. Are we clear? In a very similar fashion, we'll have another class on the UPSC 101 channel at 5 p.m. There we will be discussing syllabus for UPSC. So we'll be discussing UPSC syllabus at 5 p.m. at UPSC 101 channel. I wish to see all of you there also. Any doubt up till here, you are please free to ask. You can ask me. Any doubt you have, you can ask me, or else we'll end up today's discussion. See, I hope by now you realize that why guidance is important. Arjun, the most brave warrior, the strongest warrior of his times, Arjun, even he couldn't win the Mahabharata battle without proper guidance of Krishna. Had Krishna not been there, it would be really difficult for Arjun to win the Mahabharata. So no matter how strong you are, no matter how intelligent you are, you always need a Sarthi. And sir, you have the best Sarthis with you. We at Unacademy give you access to the top educators of the country. Without any doubt, the people you see on your screen are the best educators. There is no denying to the fact, and you'll all agree with me. So let these best educators be your Sarthi. They will get you through the entire preparation journey, and ultimately what's the end result, sir? Ultimately the end result is you qualifying this UPSC examination. Are we following it? So you need to enroll with us in our iconic and plus subscriptions. Any subscription you opt for, remember to use this code IAS Icons. This code IAS Icons will help you get maximum discounts on all our courses. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe to it. Follow us regularly from tomorrow onwards at 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. we'll be having NCERT classes here. Apart from that, I'll be having current affair classes on UPSC 101. Then we have special classes on Unacademy app, and above all, we have entire regular mode of classes for our plus and iconic students. So just like you appear in the classes in your school and college, you had regular classes every day. In a very similar way, we'll be providing you regular classes on our plus and iconic subscriptions. You have to enroll with us and remember to use this code IAS Icons. Arun Gaur, definitely. See, we are just starting. Once we are done with NCERTs, once we'll go into reference books, when we'll start practicing previous year questions, automatically we'll understand how to interconnect the things. Sheikh Mohammed Qasim, but this is again a subjective question. Uh, for some years, we were seeing that geography optional was getting the highest marks. Then we saw the toppers from PSIR. Then sometimes we see highest scorers from sociology. So it keeps on changing. Don't go for this thing that choosing one particular optional will fetch me the highest marks. It depends upon how well you are able to understand your optional, how well you are able to write that answer with that particular subject. That will make you fetch marks. There is no general perception, or there is nothing called as choosing particular optional and clearing the examination. If that was the reason, everybody would have gone behind one single optional only. See, nobody is here to do the research. All of us come into the preparation to qualify this examination. If I get to know that this is the optional which will fetch me the highest number of marks, I will never ever think of any other optional. I'll simply jump into it. But it is not the way it is done. Are we clear? So thank you very much. Thanks a lot for joining. See you at 5 p.m. at UPSC 101. Thank you very much. All the best. Keep working hard. Bye bye. Take care. Jai Hind.